Well, morning all. Today, Robin and I have come out to a location in the Lake District called Hodge Close Quarry and Home Fell. Somewhere we came last year briefly, and we marked it down for bad weather, which is, I wouldn't say it's bad today, but it's certainly dull and overcast. And this is exactly what we're after, because it's going to make working in this old slate mine area absolutely fantastic, because we're not going to get those harsh shadows and tricky contrast situations. Now, one of my biggest problems is I've got very little patience when I'm out shooting, and I do tend to rush from one location to the next. I don't really spend long enough working a composition. I'm always seeing the next thing and I'm rushing off. So what I'm keen to do today is actually slow down a little bit. Now, to help me with that, I'm using my Bronica film camera. It's a bit slower working than digital. Each frame costs money. It takes time to scan it in. So it does tend to make me think a little bit more. And I'm also going to be working with a couple of, so we say, less tolerant films, some of the slide films like Velvia today. Now that means I've got to be more careful with exposure, use graduated filters, etc. So all part of the plan to take my time and take better pictures. Well, I've managed to pick out my first composition of the day, and quite a nice composition it is too. I've managed to, let me just spin you around, get a view back down towards the quarry and the sort of lagoon down there, and I've shot it with my widest lens I brought with me, which is equivalent to about 28mm. Shot it with both Kodak Ektar and also Fuji Velvia 50. Now the Velvia 50 I've actually given the same exposure as Ektar, even though it's a slower film, because I can't risk blowing the highlights. I may get dense shadows, but it's all going to add to the look. So fingers crossed one of these will turn out really good. Now I've spotted a rather tempting lone tree. Who can resist a lone tree? Not me, but I've got to get something in the background. I mean, there is a good background there. Light's not perfect, but it is changing all the time, so probably worth a go. Well, there's a bit of a quarry here. I'm very careful obviously, but we are being very cautious, but there's some lovely detail on the walls, the slate, the patterns, the colours, and it's so still down here as well. There's absolutely no wind, so I'm going to get in close and make some studies of those rocks. Right, well, I'm lined up on this this wall you can see behind me. It's beautiful colours coming through in the slate and the rock. And I've had to shoot it with my longest lens and a 1.4 times converter. Now the reason is I don't want to get too close because there's some broken rubble here and it is an old quarry and mine working, could be dangerous. I've shot it with 2 films, shot it with Velvia 50, very low contrast range here, so Velvia should be able to handle the highlights and shadows. I've also shot it with Ektar. I've used the same exposure for both, even though Ektar is a faster film, so that will actually increase the shadow detail on the Ektar shot. Not sure which one will work, both are very good with colours like these. Well, I got a shot down there I'm quite pleased with, fingers crossed. But it started to drizzle a little bit and it's gone duller. But on the question of whether this is good light or not, it depends what you're shooting. I actually think it is good light for this sort of situation. I mean, you can go a long way to get good light. Very good light. But at the end of the day, you know, you are where you are and you shoot what you've got, and we actually planned for this. We came here because it suits the conditions. There's also a couple of caves and we can get inside those if it starts chucking it down, so it's all good. Well, we come down into the caves because, as suspected, the weather has turned bad on us now and it's chucking it down, but in the cave, you know, it's dry as a bone. And I've got this amazing view behind me out towards the cave entrance. I'm probably disappearing into darkness now. And I'm going to shoot it with my widest lens on the Bronica, which is a 28mm equivalent. And I'm going to shoot it with Ektar and I'm going to bracket it. Even though it's film and it's very, very tolerant, I'm just taking a few extra frames over and under just to see which one gives me the best and maybe even blend it in later. Well, that's it. I've taken a couple of frames now. I've used predominantly Ektar because the contrast range is absolutely massive in this cave. Dark and light, just a huge dynamic range. I've used 2 lenses, my wide angle and my standard lens. The standard lens is just about getting the cave opening in, so it's putting more emphasis on the trees, whereas the wide angle is obviously giving a greater emphasis to the cave and its surroundings. I'm really hopeful of these. It's going to take a bit of post-processing though to get the right balance between the trees in the background and the dark, gloomy cave. Well, this location's a bit of a gift really for photographers, so I am shooting quite a lot of film here. I'm not going slowly and I'm not taking my time. I've taken a couple of images with the standard lens and I've had to use heavy polarisation. There's a real difference with the polariser on here, with the slab of rock to the right hand top of the image being far too bright. If I polarise, it drops the values right down, it saturates the tree. Now, I've shot with a couple of different films. I've had to bracket quite wildly and I'm going to see which one works out best. I may even do some blending later. Well, we've had an absolutely fabulous time in this gem of a cave, but it must come to an end. We're tired, need a bit of a snack, and I think we've exhausted the best compositions. We're in danger of redoing the same compositions, and I don't think they'll be as strong. I think we've got the best out of it already. Now, it really has been a superb location, on a wet day. I mean, it's absolutely, I don't know if you can see, it's absolutely chucking it down out there, and we can't shoot in these conditions anywhere else. So we are going to go and try and find somewhere sheltered, maybe on a river underneath trees. But even if we don't get anything else, really pleased with this. I'm going to even smile.